when a $40 belt costs you $1,000. Let's get started. This used to be a serpentine belt. It is now black oily spaghetti.
That's your supper, by the way.
No, I'm not eating that. I'll put it on the table. So this is a 2002 Mercedes-Benz E320. And some of the issues we're seeing today is not surprising because it has 199,000 miles on it. The interior and the rest of the car, and actually, really, it's not in that bad of shape. It's been maintained, but there was something that failed. We'll show you here in a little bit. That was a domino effect. Let's go ahead and take a look around these. You don't see a whole lot of these on the road anymore. So there's the front of our E320. You can see they're a Green Bay Packers fan. I don't really get into football or really any sports at all. But the headlights and things are just a lightly yellow. They're not too bad, but they're acceptable. They're decent. As we go down the side, it's, like I mentioned, it's in decent shape. And one thing you can see as we go down the side is it has the look of an Lexus LS430. This is kind of what they were trying to copy, I think, when they made that vehicle. You can see it's an E320 4MATIC, which means it has all-wheel drive. And also, as you can see, the paint is not faded or peeled. It's actually pretty decent for almost 200,000 miles. We'll hop under the hood here in a little bit, but let's go ahead and jump to the interior and let Mrs. Wizard show you guys around.
Wow, ladies and gents, 199,006 miles. Wow. I'm quite impressed that it has that many miles and it's in this good of condition. We do see a couple of issues right away, though, that, well, it's supposed to read 60 degrees and, well, this isn't a countdown clock. I would not imagine. I'm not sure what's going over there with that clock, but otherwise, two items that are not overly necessary. Looks like the rest of the gauge cluster is looking fine. As we move up to that dash, look, nothing, no cracks. It's just like it's supposed to be. Has some nice wood trim accents as we're going down. Has some really nice trim around our HVAC system controls and our very stock radio. We do have one little hidey hole open, which has got some sunglasses. Looks like it was an ashtray at one time because there's charging going on as well. But look at that. Even the lacquer is looking really good. I've seen so many, especially here, where things just fall and land and crash and drinks spill. So many of these are cracked. Look, there's nothing. It's in superb condition. Neat little hidey hole right there. Used to be cup holders for some, but this one has nothing going on there. As we move over to our seats, they are nice camel leather, and they do have nice perforation in the center and a nice classic Mercedes detached headrest. They are heated and have two controls that are controlled in that center section. Door card, there's okay. We finally have found the infinitesimally little bit of wear on the car, and there it is. A little bit has rubbed off of that door handle and maybe a little on the armrest, but that is it. Lacquer's really good again. The controls there on our seat are looking really nice as well. Easy to control. Mercedes is always that way. As we move to our back seat, looking great. Keep an umbrella back there. As you scroll down, maybe one of the reasons it's in good shape is looks like they do take very good care of it. They do keep that cleaner in the car here to make sure it picks up any of those little spills and whatnot. But look at that floor. In amazing condition. Door card's looking good, more wood trim on there, and the back deck is looking nice. Even keep a nice little blanket back there in case there's an emergency. Headliner, well, it's kind of small because we do have a sunroof, moonroof, opening roof up there. It's got the cover here, which is a manual cover. But again, the louvers here are in good shape. Nothing's cracked, nothing's missing. Slide back, glass is in good shape. Looks like little kitty has been walking on their car. Other than that, that's about it. Nothing some glass cleaner can't take care of. Because it has 199,000 miles on it, the steering wheel is showing some age there. Not sure if that's going to be from grabbing it or if it's more from heat damage from the sun. Not so sure. But again, nice controls on our steering wheel, keeping track of that radio and phone controls as well. So enough of this talk of the interior. Let's go see what's going on in that engine bay.
So here we can see that Magic Mike has quite a bit of the front end of the engine already apart. There's been quite a bit of things that need to be addressed just because of a tensioner that went out, which caused, like I mentioned, a domino effect of things failing. It didn't have to be this bad, but unfortunately it was. It's not major, it's not nothing that damaged anything serious, but when you start racking up the time and the parts and everything, it all adds up really fast. This is similar to the E500, the 5-liter V8. It just has 2 cylinders lopped off. Chevrolet does this. A lot of car makers do this, where you have the 5.7-liter 350 and then you have the 4.3-liter V6 in the Chevy world. A lot of parts are swappable, like water pumps and things. They're almost identical, they just have 2 cylinders missing. Let's go ahead and close the hood. We'll take a look underneath and then we'll dive into the carnage. Okay, it is dripping a little bit because, like you just saw, Magic Mike has some of the hoses and things apart on the front end. Let's go ahead and take a look under this 200,000 mile E320. Here is our radiator, which it itself is dry and actually fairly clean. Right here, there was oil just pouring down everywhere from the front main seal, which we'll show here in a bit. Let's go ahead and check these wheels out and try not to get dripped on. The brakes are about half gone, but they're still good. These front CV boots are good. The shock is nice and dry. Nothing loose. Sway bar link is good. Go to this side. Brakes are the same. CV boots are good. Shock is dry. Nothing loose. Sway bar is good. So let's get out of the drip zone and show you guys here at the bell housing. There's a very slight seepage. With this many miles on this car, it's to be expected, and I'm not going to tear apart this engine for such a slight seepage. With this many miles on the car, that's opening a can of worms. Here is the transmission. It's nice and dry. Looks like a NAG transmission. I can see the connector going through the side. NAG, NAG 1. Check the transmission mount. It actually looks okay. Maybe a little collapsed, but not too bad. Here's our little baby transfer case. It actually makes this an all-wheel drive unit. 4MATIC. And it has very slight seepage, but nothing serious. Let's check the shaft. Everything's actually good. The flex disc actually looks good on this. You can't really see it. It's buried in there. It's very difficult to film, but it actually looks decent. Here's our exhaust. Everything looks good there. There's our little muffler. Here's a flex disc that you can see. It is aged. You can see it's Mercedes brand, but it's not cracked. It's not ripped. It's actually in really good shape. We can see a tiny drip coming from this axle seal, or this actually differential output seal. But again, I wouldn't say that that's worth tearing a whole lot of stuff apart for and racking up a big bill. Let's check out the brakes here. They're about half gone as well. CV boots are good. Shock is dry. Sway bar link is good. Nothing loose. Brakes are half gone. CV boots are good. Shock is dry. Sway bar link is good. Nothing loose. And lastly, here's our big muffler. And let's go ahead and check the date code on the tires. And here we can see that the tires are still good. They're from October of 2020. They're only a couple, 3 years old. They're not needing to be replaced at all. So very good on the tires. Let's go ahead and get this thing on the ground and talk about the carnage. This car is built very solid. Several cars we have on the lift at times will actually take a while for the car to come down because it's so light. This one definitely is not light. It comes down very quickly. So you guys saw the spaghetti mess of all the shredded up belt, but the belt wasn't actually what failed. Let's start with the domino effect and see the dollars start to rack up as we go along. First and foremost, our tensioner pulley is non-existent basically as far as the bearing is concerned. It's gone so far as to actually dig into the body of the tensioner. We just quoted a new tensioner because who knows what underlying damage is there. It's not worth it. So this thing failed. It needs a new tensioner assembly, but wait, there's more. Here we have the shredded belt, and it is in pieces and is soaked in oil, but it didn't get that bad just by slipping off of that pulley. Once the belt came off, it started getting tangled and everything. But wait, there's more. This is the water pump, and you can see where it's shiny here, all the way around. There was so much wadded up belt up under the pulley that it actually messed up the bearing. It's wobbly. Let me see if you guys can hear it here. There we go. This thing is shot. Whenever we would spin it on the car, when it was still in the car, it actually sounded like a goat. It sounded really, really bad. So the water pump got damaged out of this deal. But wait, there's more. Pieces of the belt got behind the main pulley or the harmonic balancer and actually damaged the seal. Look at it, guys. Pieces of the belt were wedged in here. You can see pieces of remnant of the belt like rubber. It got all jammed up inside of here. But wait, there's more. And as you can see on these drip pans, they are just soaked in oil. And all that is from that front main seal that we saw was damaged by the belt. So now we have pans all coated in oil. Really, really nasty. So it's easy to think, well, the front main seal's been leaking for a while. No, it hasn't. This is fresh damage. You can actually see pieces of the belt in the seal. All this oil is a new leak, a new development from all of this failure. You can see on the ground over there, there's actually still pieces of the belt that we were digging out. It looks like shrapnel. All of those things damaged, and the bill has been raised to the $1,000 level. All because of this. So all of those things happened all at once, but the tensioner pulley didn't happen all at once. It's likely been making a noise or been going out for some time. And maybe they didn't hear it, or I don't understand. I don't know exactly the whole story behind it. But once it finally let loose, it was a domino effect. There's pieces of shrapnel, there's belts stuck in all these different pulleys. All these things added up. $100 here, $200 there, $50 there. Then you got labor to put all this stuff back together, and sales tax, and all the stuff adds up to $1,000 really fast. Oh, and don't forget the tow bill as well. It's sad that it happened that way. I wish it would have just thrown the belt and that would be the end of story. You know, you can get it here, we can get the tensioner and a belt put on it. Unfortunately, things went awry really quickly on this and caused a lot of damage. With this many miles on the car, I don't feel so sad that we're putting a new water pump on it. That one's been there for a long, long time. And whatever little bit of life it had left, it was finally taken by the belt getting wrapped up in it. So some of these things probably needed to be replaced anyways, but I believe the front main seal would have lasted a lot longer if it didn't get pieces of belt wedged into it. So we got all the parts ordered. They'll be here tomorrow. We'll get this thing back together. And as you saw, it really doesn't need a whole lot more than that. Maybe some small surfaces, an oil change or something like that. We'll look into that, which it may have already had an oil change. I do see a sticker here. But likely that's all it will need. It will be back on the road. Who knows how much longer it'll last? Hopefully a lot longer. I'm actually surprised that many miles on a Mercedes-Benz is actually very pleasantly surprised I am. So if you're curious what kind of tools Magic Mike is using to do all this work, check our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. We get a small cut and we really appreciate it. And make sure to hit the subscribe button because there's a lot of cars in the shop, which means more videos for you guys. Thanks for watching.